Hello and good morning, dear students. Today we are going to pay our attention towards the second part of the second lesson from your main course book, that is Beehive of your class 9th textbook. The name of the lesson is The Shehnai of Bismillah Khan. And as the very name suggests, the Bharat Ratna Ustad Bismillah Khan was a great Shehnai player, and he was widely famous for his great skill of playing Shehnai. Today we are going to learn a wonderful lesson of how he became that great Shehnai player. Emperor Aurangzeb banned the playing of a musical instrument called pungi in the royal residence, for it had a shrill, unpleasant sound. Emperor Aurangzeb did not allow playing the musical instrument called pungi in his royal palace because he thought that it produced some bad quality of music, some shrill, unpleasant sound. Pungi became the generic name for reeded noisemakers. So, Pungi became a generic name. Generic, that is a name given to a class or group as a whole. So, Pungi became that generic name to the reeded noisemakers. Reeded noisemakers, that is wind instruments which have reeds like the flute or what you call the bansuri or the clarinet. Few had thought that it would one day be revived. So nobody had thought that pungi would be revived, will be restored once again in some other form. A barber of a family of professional musicians who had access to the royal palace decided to improve the tonal quality of the pungi. So there was a barber from the family of professional musicians, and he had the access. He used to go to the royal palace. He decided to improve the tonal quality of the pungi, and as you know, pungi produced some shrill unpleasant sound, and he thought that he should be able to improve its sound quality. He chose a pipe with a natural hollow stem that was longer and broader than the pungi. So he chose a pipe which was longer and broader than the pungi and made 7 holes on the body of the pipe. And he made 7 holes on the body of that hollow pipe. When he played onto it, closing and opening some of these holes, soft and melodious sounds were produced. So when he played that instrument, it produced melodious sounds. He opened and closed some of the holes of that sound. He played the instrument before royalty and everyone was impressed. So when he played that instrument in front of the royal people, they were very happy with him. The instrument, so different from the pungi, had to be given a new name. So it was not a pungi. Of course, it was the improvisation in that pungi. So it had to be given some other name, some different name. As the story goes, since it was first played in the Shah's chambers and was played by a nai, that is barber, the instrument was given the name Shehnai. So Sheh plus Nai. Shah, that is, it was played in the Shah's chamber, it was played in the king's chamber, and it was played by that Nai, by that barber. So it was called the Shehnai. So you can see here in the picture the pungi and the Shehnai. The sound of the Shehnai began to be considered auspicious. Auspicious, that is lucky and promising good fortune. And it was considered, it was thought that the Shehnai produced some lucky and promising sound. And for this reason, it is still played in temples and is an indispensable component of any North Indian wedding. So it is played, Shehnai is played in the temples, and it is the indispensable component, indispensable, that is compulsorily important. So in any North Indian wedding, in any North Indian marriage ceremony, you will find compulsorily Shehnai being played, because it is a holy, sacred, or what you can call Mangal type of music. In the past, the Shehnai was part of the Nobat, or traditional ensemble of 9 instruments found at royal courts. So you have to pronounce this word ensemble. Ensemble means things. Here it means considered, instruments considered as group. So the Shehnai became the part of the traditional ensemble of 9 instruments found at royal courts. Till recently, it was used only in temples and weddings. The credit for bringing this instrument onto the classical stage goes to Ustad Bismillah Khan. So, Shehnai was played in temples and wedding ceremonies, but the credit, the whole and sole credit of bringing Shehnai onto the classical stage goes to Ustad Bismillah Khan. As a 5-year-old, Bismillah Khan played gilli danda near a pond in the ancient state of Dumrao in Bihar. Ancient, that is very old. So, like every other or many other small children, Ustad Bismillah Khan also played gilli danda. He would regularly go to the nearby Bihariji temple to sing the Bhojpuri Chaita. So he went there to sing the Bhojpuri holy Chaitas in the Bihariji temple, at the end of which he would earn a big laddu weighing 1.25 kilogram. So when he would finish his singing of the holy song, he would get 1.25, that is 1 kilo and 250 gram. This much of weight was that of that laddu. He would get that as prasad, or you can call a prize, which was given by the local Maharaja to him. This happened 80 years ago, and the little boy has travelled far to earn the highest civilian award in India, the Bharat Ratna. So when he was a child, he got this prize of laddu by the local Maharaja. But 80 years after that, he achieved the highest civilian award, that is the Bharat Ratna. Born on March 1916, Bismillah belongs to a well-known family of musicians from Bihar. So he comes from a very famous family of musicians from Bihar. His grandfather Rasul Baksh Khan was the Shehnai Nawaz of the Bhojpur King's Court. So his grandfather was Ustad. His grandfather was a great Shehnai player who played Shehnai in Bhojpur King's Court. His father Paigambar Baksh and other paternal ancestors were also great Shehnai players. So Shehnai came to him as the part of his ancestral legacy. The young boy took to music early in life. So he made music his career. He made Shehnai his career. At the age of 3, when his mother took him to his maternal uncle's house in Banaras, now Varanasi, Bismillah was fascinated watching his uncle's practice the Shehnai. So even to his maternal uncle, that is his uncles from his mother's side, paternal, that is from father's side, and maternal means from mother's side. So when he went to his maternal uncle's house in Banaras, he saw his uncles practicing the Shenai. And when he saw them practicing Shenai, he was greatly attracted to them, fascinated, that is, attracted. Soon Bismillah started accompanying his uncle Ali Bugs to the Vishnu temple of Banaras, where Bugs was employed to play the Shenai. So, in his childhood, Bismillah Khan used to go to the Vishnu temple of Banaras to and his uncle used to play there. Play there Shenai. Ali Bugs would play the Shenai and Bismillah would sit captivated for hours on end. Captivated, that is, attracted, fascinated, spellbound. So Bismillah Khan would see his uncle Ali Bugs playing Shenai for hours and hours together because he was greatly attracted towards the great sound of that Shenai. Slowly he started getting lessons in playing the instrument and would sit practicing throughout the day. So the whole day long he would be practicing the Shenai. For years to come, the temple of Balaji and Mangalamaya and the banks of the Ganga became the young apprentice's favorite haunts, where he would practice in solitude. A few difficult words you see here in this line: apprentice. Apprentice, that is, a beginner, a new learner. So who is the new learner here? The new learner here is Ustad Bismillah Khan. So in his childhood he would play the Shenai, he would practice Shenai in the temples of Balaji and Mangalamaya and the banks of the river, the holy river Ganga. And these were the favorite haunts, that is, these were the favorite places where he would go regularly. And he would practice there in solitude. Solitude, that is, silence. Solitude, that is, the solitude, that is, separated place where one gets peace of mind. So he would play the Shehnai there in those places with complete attention, rapt attention. The flowing waters of the Ganga inspired him to improvise and invent ragas that were earlier considered to be beyond the range of the Shehnai. So while sitting there, he made the improvisations, he made some changes and invented the new ragas in Shehnai. At the age of 14, Bismillah accompanied his uncle to the Allahabad Music Conference. So when he was 14 years of age, he along with his uncle went to Allahabad Music Conference. At the end of his recital, Ustad Fayaz Khan patted the young boy's back and said, "Work hard and you shall make it." So Ustad Fayaz Khan, he patted him on his back, and when you get the patting from your elders or especially the people who are great in that particular field, really you spring up to the height. So the same thing was going to happen here with Ustad Bismillah Khan. With the opening of the All India Radio in Lucknow in 1938 came Bismillah's big break. He soon became an often heard Shehnai player on radio. So a new way to his career started in the year 1938 because he got the opportunity to play Shehnai on the platform of All India Radio. When India gained independence on 15th August 1947, Bismillah Khan became the first Indian to greet the nation with his Shehnai. So you have already been told that Shehnai, as it is the music instrument which is played to celebrate something very good, ominous, something very lucky. So 15th August 1947 was the one of the greatest achievements for from the points of view of we the people of India. And to greet the nation, he played his Shenai on that very day. He poured his heart out into Rag Kafi from the Red Fort to an audience which included Mahatma Gandhi and Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, who later gave his famous Tryst with Destiny speech. So when he played Shehnai there on the Red Fort, there were so many great people who had gathered, and these people included Mahatma Gandhi and Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. And Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru gave his greatly famous speech, Tryst with Destiny. Bismillah Khan has given many memorable performances both in India and abroad. Abroad, that is out of country, out of India. So uh, he gave his memorable performances not only in India but also outside India. His first trip abroad was to Afghanistan, where King Zahir Shah was so taken in by the maestro that he gifted him priceless Persian carpets and other souvenirs. The king of Afghanistan, King Zahir Shah, he was greatly attracted, so taken in that is he was greatly attracted by the music of Shehnai played by the maestro, that is the great musician. And he gifted him valuable Persian carpets and other souvenirs. Souvenirs, that is the things given in memory of a place, person, or event. The king of Afghanistan was not the only one to be fascinated with Bismillah Khan's music. Film director Vijay Bhatt was so impressed after hearing Bismillah play at a festival that he named a film after the instrument called Gunjuti Shehnai. So, Gunjuti Shehnai was a big Bollywood buster film which was released in the year 1959. The film was a hit, and one of Bismillah Khan's compositions, Dil Ka Khilona Hai Toot Gaya, turned out to be a nationwide chart buster. So, a very famous song, Dil Ka Khilona Hai Toot Gaya, was the national chart buster at that time. Chart buster, that is a record breaker song. Despite this huge success in the celluloid world, Bismillah Khan's ventures in film music were limited to two, that is Vijay Bhatt's Gunjuti Shehnai and Vikram Srinivasa's Kannada venture Sanadi Aparna. Celluloid world, that is old fashioned way of referring to films. Although in the very beginning, Ustad Bismillah Khan was greatly famous in the film industry also, still then he did not carry on with his career in the films, and only two films he performed, and the two films are Vijay Bhatt's Gunjuti Shehnai and the second one is the Kannada venture, that is Sanadi Aparna. I just can't come to terms with the artificiality and glamour of the film world, he says with emphasis. So, when he was asked the reason behind this, he openly he openly said that he did not like the artificiality and glamour of the film world. The artificial world of the film industry could not hold the grip of the mind of the great Shehnai player Ustad Bismillah Khan. Awards and recognition came thick and fast. Bismillah became the first Indian to be invited to perform at the prestigious Lincoln Center Hall in the United States of America. So he was showered upon with wonderful awards and recognitions, and she was also uh, invited to perform at the prestigious Lincoln Center Hall in the United States of America. He also took part in the World Exposition in uh, Montreal in the Cannes Art Festival and in the Osaka Trade Fair. So well known did he become internationally that an auditorium in Tehran was named after him. Tahar Mosiki Ustad Bismillah Khan. So Tehran is the capital city of Iran, and an auditorium was named after Ustad Bismillah Khan in that capital city of Iran. National awards like the Padma Shri, the Padma Bhushan, and the Padma Vibhushan were conferred on him. Uh, the national awards, which are coveted by so many people, like the Padma Shri, the Padma Bhushan, and the Padma Vibhushan, were conferred on him, and the final one came in the year 2001. In 2001, Ustad Bismillah Khan was awarded India's highest civilian award, that is the Bharat Ratna. With the coveted award resting on his chest and his eyes glinting with rare happiness, he said. So he became very happy when he was conferred on him this coveted award. Coveted, that is desired award. At that time he said, all I would like to say is teach your children music. This is Hindustan's richest tradition. Even the West is now coming to learn our music. So he advised the people of India to teach their children music because it is our richest tradition. In spite of having traveled all over the world, Khan Sahab, as he is fondly called, is exceedingly fond of Banaras and Dumrao, and they remain for him the most wonderful towns of the world. So, Ustad Bismillah Khan traveled all over the world, and he is called Khan Sahab with love and affection. But he exceedingly loves Banaras and Dumrao, and these places are the most wonderful places for him in the world. A student of his once wanted him to head a Shehnai school in the USA, and the student promised to recreate the atmosphere of Banaras by replicating the temples there. But Khan Sahab asked him if he would be able to transport river Ganga as well. So Ustad Bismillah Khan's student was there in America, and that student offered Ustad Bismillah Khan that he would recreate all the temples in the USA, in America, but he should start the Shehnai school in that place. But Bismillah Khan gently refused his offer by asking him that if he would be able to transport the holy river Ganga as well in that place. So this clearly shows how patriotic he was. Later he is remembered to have said, that is why whenever I am in a foreign country, I keep yearning to see Hindustan. Yearning, that is to have a strong desire. So when he is in any place in abroad, he keeps a strong desire to see Hindustan. While in Mumbai, I think of only Banaras and the Holy Ganga. So when he would be in Mumbai, he thought only of Banaras and the Holy Ganga. And while in Banaras, I miss the unique mutt of Dumrao. So he had a great pull towards the places like Banaras and the holy river Ganga and the mutt of Dumrao, where he had spent most of the part of his childhood and youth. Ustad Bismillah Khan's life is a perfect example of the rich cultural heritage of India. One that effortlessly accepts that a devout Muslim like him can very naturally play the Shehnai every morning at the Kashi Vishwanath temple. So, Ustad Bismillah Khan was a devout Muslim. Devout, that is a strong believer in Islam. But still then, he very naturally plays Shehnai at the Kashi Vishwanath temple. So this is a wonderful example of religious tolerance. So in this way we come across here the wonderful legacy of Ustad Bismillah Khan's Shehnai, and I hope you have understood the lesson. Thank you very much. May God bless all of you.